Laguna Seca to Usher Slibben's course, Clio warriors lining up with full force. Heat race is split, standing starts ignite. 2 laps in quali, chase that pole tonight. Bonus points waiting if you keep it clean. In the Renault Clio League, we're chasing the dream. Call Clio League Season 2. Feel the rush, we're coming through. 12 weeks, 12 tracks, 12 fights to the end. From the club to the international bands. Broadcast live for the world to see. Clio League, this is where we wanna be. Clio League Season 2. We race, we fight, we battle through. Heat races first, then feature 1. 15 minutes, pedal down, get it done. Feature 2, with the invert spin. Fight your way back, and the bonus points begin. Incidents free, earns you points to spare. Hard charges flying through the air. If you win them both, clean and true. 10 more points, that's how champions do. Call Clio League Season 2. Feel the rush, we're coming through. 12 weeks, 12 tracks, 12 fights to the end. From the club to the international bands. Broadcast live for the world to see. Clio League, this is where we wanna be. Clio League Season 2. We race, we fight, we battle through. Laguna Seca, we race it. Los Sebring Club, we chase it. La Daytona Short, we own it. La Sucuba, we've shown it. La Monza Junior, we fly. La Knockhill's twist, we try. Shut Usher, Slibben B, we'll never say goodbye. Oh, Clio League Season 2. Feel the rush, we're coming through. 12 weeks, 12 tracks, 12 fights to the end. From the club to the international bands. Broadcast live for the world to see. Clio League, this is where we wanna be. Clio League Season 2. We race, we fight, we battle through. One dream, one league. It's me and you. Clio League Season 2. Go.
And that's a jump start by the looks of it from Lazic Smith. We're green, we are away. Is Lazic Smith going to get away with that, or is he going to get a black flag? It looks like he's got away with it from the second position launch there. He will not get a black flag for that one. A slide there from Jürgen Nagel. He just needs to finish this race and get the points. It doesn't matter if he is last overall. He is going to win division number 2. Other drivers will be trying to work their way around him. Matt Malone almost off the circuit there. He's got cars up his inside. That's a really hard part to be on the outside. He loses 2 positions down to 9th overall. He's got John Cook behind him, looking to try and make up any positions in up the inside of Clayton McBuller for 6th position. Into turn number 1, 2 different racing lines. Number of cars onto the grass. Matty Quidland and Clayton McBuller onto the grass. That moves Harry Fox down the order. Clayton McBuller returns the track down the order. Matty Quidland returns the track behind Jürgen Nagel ahead of him onto the gravel. That was John Cook into the wall. A heavy hit there for Lazic Smith. And it's a turn 1, again turn 1, catching drivers out. Lazic Smith all the way off the circuit and into the tyre wall for him. Puts in a 49.081. That's Matt Malone coming out of pit lane. Has distracted McBuller, or has McBuller just done another wide turn? This one, he has been black flagged and sent to pit lane. I believe that is for incident limit. comes through, and that's on the outside again is Lazarus Smith. This time forced off the track, and through goes Harry Fox out front. 2 more laps to go as Lazarus Smith dives up the inside of Harry Fox and gets that move done brilliantly, but he breaks on the exit. There's contact between the two of them, and then Vukovic wins ahead of Marcus Law. Lewis Henriquez take third. Who's going to take fourth? Across the line, it is Lazarus Smith. Into the front of the field and the back of the field. Sometimes it's nicer that way to see the fights go out, but Jabrat moves into the lead as Hurd runs onto the grass. Philip van der Herk under attack from Neil Rocks behind, and I'd argue the entire D1 field. Not a single one of them more than a second behind the driver ahead, but that is a big mistake from Stephen Hurd. He gets the gravel, he goes wide, Ian Lane moves through, and here comes Philip van der Herk. Van der Herk has moved into the top 10 into the championship for the second time this season. In fact, it was a purple lap for him as Ian Lane slides it from second position. Stephen Hurd gets through up the inside, and now Philip van der Herk side by side gets up inside of Ian Lane. Ian Lane is black flagged. It's the limit for Ian Lane, and Philip van der Herk is off. Just 1.3 seconds, but I don't think he is going to have enough time to fight Jabrat for the win here. Off the circuit goes the D2 leader, Anders Hagland. He gets it back on, but right behind now is Peter McIntyre. 2 different racing lines, and it looks like McIntyre is going to hold it on the outside. Hagland is going to tuck behind, surely up towards turn 1. No, he stays to the left, wanting to stay an active presence in the mirror, possibly trying to force McIntyre into a mistake. But Peter McIntyre leads the D2 field here at Knockhill. D1, he needs to win D2. He's off the circuit though, and here comes Anders Hagland, back at it. Back through goes Anders Hagland. Jabrat, as Van der Herk makes a pass, past Neil Rocks behind. Jabrat will win ahead of Stephen Hurd. Van der Herk takes third. Who's going to take fourth? If it's going to be Rocks or Aero? They are side by side across the line, but Neil Rocks takes it. It's green, and we are away here at Knockhill as the drivers head up towards turn number 1. It's side by side at the front, but they settle themselves down. Are they going to run off the circuit? There's a sideways car. That's Stephen Hurd. He settles himself down as more cars running off in the background. But it looks like we are going to get ourselves through at the front without any major issues. Cars pushing themselves though so hard that they are visiting the grass right now. This is Van der Herk. He's ahead of Lazarus Smith as they run incredibly close down the chicane here at Knockhill. Henriquez looks to the inside of Marcus Law. Law gets the grass. We'll try to keep it on ahead of Lazarus Smith, but Lazarus Smith takes full advantage of it, slides up the inside, takes the position, and is now behind Lewis Henriquez. Lewis Henriquez kicked up a little bit of grass. That's Marcus Law on the grass behind, but here comes Lazarus Smith to the left-hand side, and he gets the position before the corners even arrive on Vukovic's car. He goes defensive to the left. Jabrat has to go to the right-hand side. It's going to be the long way round. Vukovic holds it. Jabrat does not go to push. He goes for the switchback. Jabrat playing Vukovic like a fiddle, and he moves through up the inside, but they're both off the track. Surely that's a slowdown. Ball's going for an overtake into the chicane, and through goes McBullough past Cridland. Cook is out of this race alongside Downey. Cook got a black flag before he went out of the race, probably the reason he decided to abandon the feature race in this one. As it looks like Rocks has a cover, he's about a second ahead of this fight, but here comes Marcus Law. Law to the inside of Aero. There's contact. Both of them keep it on the track. Aero switches back over, and there's more contact. Law is sideways, but he holds the position. as we head up now towards the timing line. 48 seconds is a lap. This is 54. I think it's going to count it as white flag, but here comes Vukovic up the inside of Jabrat. Milan Vukovic takes the inside of Jabrat, and Jabrat had no response. Almost bested by the Frenchman behind. Pushing as hard as he can. Cedric Jabrat just isn't going to be able to make it to the front of the field. Milan Vukovic wins feature race 1 at Knockhill ahead of Cedric Jabrat. We are green and away around Knockhill from feature race 2, 20 minutes of back-up action in a fully inverted grid. Drivers head to turn 1. We already have the 404 into the wall. Peter McIntyre around at turn 1. Drivers keeping it better on the circuit this time than they did in the dry races. But around went Peter McIntyre and down the order already at turn number 1. More cars off in the background, including, it looked like, Van der Herk. I possibly know it wasn't. It was Ralph Aero. Huge contact between Aero and Henriquez there. That looked like something going on between the two of them. What on earth was that? Matty Quinlan up the inside of Riley Downey. He takes it, but he's off the track. And around goes Jürgen Nagel behind. Somehow, it looks like Matty Quinlan holds the lead. Riley Downey's in second still. What the heck just happened there? As they all come through. Up the hill now. Contact between Downey and Law. They go over the top of the hill. It's an inverted grid. It is a wet race for the first time today. And my word, is it already causing absolute havoc and mayhem. It's turn number 1. Here comes Neil Rocks up the inside of Riley Downey. Riley Downey does not need to lead the overall race. Just the blue cars that he needs to beat. Anders Hagman further down the order. Riley Downey off the track there, but he's back on now, and it looks like he's going to lose position to Ian Lane as well. He certainly is. That 5 already. As more cars off at the chicane. They're just disappearing over the hill and reappearing at the bottom of it. Nine, not going to do anything with it. There is huge slide from Vukovic ahead. Riley's sliding down the hill. And he's off onto the grass. He gets it back on before the gravel. He's got Ian Lane up his inside. He's got Cedric Jabrat and Harry Fox just behind him as well. Neil Rocks is off, having to recover back onto the circuit. Contact with Anders Hagman as he comes back onto the circuit. Here comes Harry Fox. Lane seems to have got a slow run on that exit. Could be dealing with a slowdown as we head through. Stephen Hurd gets up past Jabrat in the background as well. Side of Matty Quinlan up towards the first turn. They're side by side, and just like he took the lead in feature 1, he takes the lead here in feature race 2, Knockhill circuit. Ian Lane holds the position ahead of Downey as Stephen Hurd goes around on his own. And that's also off the track. Neil Rocks, I think, as the races occur, but that's the third one this season, and all of them have happened during the race. And we've had 2 post-race disqualifications for the first time this season as well. And at the moment, the positions you just don't know who's going to go for what right now. Downey up the inside of Fox. Vukovic at 57.2 is pulling away out at the lead. Fox and Downey side by side. Who's going to get the better exit? The puddles are on Fox's side. Downey, if he can just keep it on the left-hand side there, he could take it. He's not going to. In fact, he backs out of it and lets Philip Van der Herk through as well. Van der Herk actually fighting Fox for position, so that might have been... No, and off goes Fox on the exit. A wobble. He gets it back on. He doesn't lose too much time, but he loses the position overall. Isaac Smith trying to recover. As that was off the track was Anders Hagland. Is the fastest man out there. 56.7. Incredibly fast in these conditions. He's on the right-hand side here of Neil Rocks. Are they going to be able to make it side by side and clean through? Yes, they are. Somehow keeps it on the track here. Riley Downey can take the victory here. The feature race 2 and a slide for Ian Lane. A slide for Riley Downey. They're both facing the right way, but Riley Downey's off. Can he keep it out of the wall? Yes, somehow. And about 4 laps out of it. But here comes Harry Fox to look at the inside of Ian Lane. They're side by side. And they go through cleanly. Ian Lane backs out of that one. Going slowly, has just been caught up on mine, and he goes sideways again. He's got James Alex Smith just behind. Then Cedric back and Ralph Aero. There's still 6 seconds back to the cars further back from him. What is Downey going to choose to do here? He's braking early. He's letting James Alex Smith up the inside. He's side by side here with Aero. He brakes again, lets Aero through. Is it contact with Malone? No, he's tried to make the overtake on Malone, and he can't quite get it turned in. And a meatball flag for that throws Vandenherk out of the race, as you can see. Vandenherk went off. He's gone around. He slides it. We've seen a number of cars go up there. He's into the wall as well. He's recovered to 4th position, however, so he hasn't dropped too far back, but he is now off of the podium. Number 1, Aero on the outside, Lasik Smith on the inside. These are 2 drivers who are racing in the league for the first time this season. Aero goes wide, now going to go for the exit as Lasik Smith holds on to 5th position. Aero is got a really slow exit, and here comes Ian Lane. Ian Lane moves up into 6th position. They're still side by side though. Can he confirm it? Oh, he's going to have to give Aero space on the outside. Aero's going to be on the part where there's a lot of puddles though. Ian Lane on the preferred line down the chicane. Aero not backing out though. Milan Vukovic wins here at at Knockhill. We'll be back here next week, and he'll be loving that because he's won all 3 races he's competed in today. This is the fight for 3rd. Matt Malone has made his way past Matty Quidlan, and Matt Malone will take the podium position. This is how it happened. As we were watching Vukovic cross the line, Matt Malone got a great exit out of the first 2 turns, got to the left-hand side and got the position before the corner. Hello everybody and welcome to the 11th round of the iRacing Renault Clio League here for season number 2. We only have 2 more rounds left and we return once more to the Knockhill racing circuit. Back-to-back races in Scotland here. And we are heading around the circuit in the correct direction this week after the reversed direction last week. Slightly different this week as well. We are not going to be seeing any rain here at Knockhill after a downpour in feature race 2 last time out. It is not going to be wet at all across the weekend, and we are looking like a strong grid of both D1 and D2 drivers. 11 D1 drivers preparing themselves for the racing action coming up. Qualifying in 10 minutes time. We have 9 D2 drivers prepared to start here today, and we've got both of the championship leaders in the Division 2 category racing this week. But before we look at the championship standings, let us just remind ourselves of the calendar and how it has gone so far. We started all the way back on July 19th for the first round of this season, and it was a fantastic event all the way back at Laguna Seca before we headed across to Sebring, Daytona and Portland to finish our American tour. we headed across to Tsukuba, to Winton, across in that side of the world, before we finally came across to Europe for the back half of the season. Some great races at Monza, Thruxton, Nürburgring, and of course last time out at Knockhill, where we return again today. Just one more round left after this one, and it'll be next week on October 25th at Oschersleben. So be sure to hit that follow button here on Beehive Bill so that you do not miss out on that event. It will be starting at around this time next Saturday. Talking then about the circuit, it is the second time this season we are visiting the Knockhill circuit. We saw it just last week, but a slightly different configuration. We are running the full layout here, including the final hairpin, which we cut off last week. We are also running the circuit this time in the correct direction. As you can see in the background there, drivers heading up the chicane are much easier that direction than it was last week downhill, especially in the wet. A lot of cars going off downhill at that chicane in the wet. That should not be happening this week. It is an uphill chicane and it is dry. However, the exit is still deadly. There is a lot of gravel out on track at the moment, especially around the back half of the lap. So do expect drivers to be running wide, running off of the circuit. Some issues happening throughout all 4 of the upcoming races. Of course, if you are new around here, you've missed all of the previous 10 rounds. Don't worry. Head across to the Beehive Bill YouTube channel, because over there you can catch up with all of the full live streams or the extended highlights if you don't have as much time, so you can catch up on how this season has gone. We are coming up towards the end of what is a 25-minute practice session. We then have a qualifying session, 2 laps for each of the drivers in a solo qualifying session to place themselves to the front of the field. Our even numbered qualifiers, that's 2nd, 4th, 6th, they all start heat race number 2, because it is our odd race qualifiers, 1st, 3rd, 5th, and so on, that will be starting the first heat race. They will all have 10 minutes in each heat race to try and find their way to the front of their respective classes. All the drivers will then be heading down onto track for feature race 1. That will be using the race results of the 2 heat races to sort out the grid for that one. And then we'll be heading into feature race 2, which will be at the current standpoint, the entire grid reverse, which always creates some amazing racing. And those reverse grids I will always take into account, because I was able to win a Renault Clio League in the mini season between season 1 and 2. I was able to win a race around Oschersleben in the wet because of a full reverse grid. So they really can put drivers who have had a bad weekend into an opportunity to win. It's not just allowing drivers from the back to work their way through the field. It helps out a lot of other drivers as well. Talking about helping out drivers, there are some drivers in both championships that are going to need help here today around Knockhill. Let's first look at the championship, which has already been decided. Of course, after today we will get 4 drop races. So the way that works is you drop your 4 worst heat race results, your 4 worst feature 1 results, and your 4 worst feature 2 results. But even with those drop races being applied, the D1 championship is going to be handed to Milan Vukovic, who has been an absolute dominant force all season long. He has a 211 point lead right now ahead of Stephen Hurd. Hurd only holding a 23 point lead ahead of Harry Fox. However, we will not be seeing Harry Fox back down on track for the remainder of this season, unfortunately. So that gives Stephen Hurd an additional 25 point advantage over Luis Henriquez, who will be trying to get inside that top 3. Van der Herk, he has been an absolute formidable rival to Vukovic, not quite able to get there in all the races, and at the early point of the season he wasn't even here, but he has managed to work his way inside the top 5. He is also in with a chance, an opportunity to get 3rd place here against Luis Henriquez. Matt Malone, he holds on 6th in that championship, only just behind Van der Herk. So he'll be looking also to move further up before the end of this season. Ian Lane and Mark Codd swap places in 7th and 8th. Just 6 points between them now. And Neil Rocks, John Cook, they're also swapping places, and they're only a further 4 points back, 3 points separating both of them. So that battle for 7th right now is extremely close indeed. With the D1 championship decided at the front, the D2 championship is anything but decided. With Jared Swaim not here last week at our first visit of Knockhill, Riley Downey was able to close up the gap. 18 points now between Swaim and Downey. These final drop races are going to have a significant impact, I feel, on this championship fight. So going into the final round at Oschersleben next week, it is going to be a straight fight between Swaim and Downey, but how close is it going to be? Who is going to be at a stronger advantage? Richard Edgar is still in 3rd position, and Anthony Hilton, the man that was leading the championship at the early stage of the season, continues to fall down the order as he has abandoned the back end of this season after falling out of the lead of the championship. He is now down to 6th place, even though all of those positionings on the left-hand side are weirdly wrong. Anthony Hilton is down to 6th place. Anders Hagland moves up to 4th. He is fighting for 3rd in this championship, as is Jürgen Nagel, who sits in 5th right now, up 2 places from the last round, and he sits only 18 points behind Hagland, who is 13 points behind Edgar. It's still an opportunity for each of them. Of course, Hagland today is racing, so is Nagel, so is Edgar. So there is that fight that we're going to have to look out for 3rd, as well as Swaim and Downey, both here today. 1st and 2nd, by the way, Swaim and Downey, currently in the D2 class. Hagland, McIntyre, Nagel, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And then you got Edgar in 6th. It is extremely close right now between those drivers towards the front. And it's nice to see Joel Swaim back behind the wheel here in the Renault Clio League after having a couple of races earlier on in the season. He returns as well. But now I'm also going to get confused because I've got 2 Swaims racing, and that always throws me for a loop. Continuing down the order then, 7th in the championship is Zach Gould. He is only 8 points behind Hilton. Gould is not racing today, so he will not be able to get past Hilton. McIntyre just a further 11 points behind. He should be able to get past Gould and Hilton in today's race, and could potentially fight for 3rd going into the final round at Oschersleben next time out. Zach Thibault, he's in 9th. Matt Neal in 10th. No Thibault today, but Matt Neal is out on track. Slowest of the D2 class right now. And just joining the server as practice comes to a close is Philip van der Herk, who is looking, of course, to try and fight for 3rd in that D1 field. That is today's races. Practice coming up to a close in about 1 minute's time. Again, if you're new around here, you're not too sure about the 2 divisions, then I will show you our beautiful timing tower as practice comes to a close here. All those drivers with the red background to the racing number and the little red accent on the left-hand side. They are our D1, our Division 1 drivers. That is the drivers with the higher I rating in the servers. And then we have our D2 drivers. They are our blue background drivers, and they are the ones who are the lower I rating drivers. Not by any means low I rating. And we do see the drivers mix it up a fair bit. There's often that we have seen some of our leading D2 drivers battling it out inside the top 5, and occasionally for race wins, even without the reverse grid. Of course, the reverse grid always bringing a mix into it for feature race 2. That is the 20-minute longer race. Not the most amount of points on offer for race results, but a lot of bonus points on offer on that final race of the day. As practice draws to a close here, though, we are going to be preparing ourselves for qualifying around the Thruxton circuit. Not the Thruxton, the Knockhill circuit. I said Thruxton last week as well, that I had to correct myself. I don't know why I do that. But anyway, we're here at Knockhill. My favourite circuit in, I would argue, the world. I really would. Like, it is such a fun circuit to drive, both directions. And even the rallycross circuit here is quite a bit of fun as well. So I do really, really love this circuit. Qualifying then underway. And we are going to actually go on board with Jared Swain when he comes out of pit lane, if he wants to come out of pit lane. That's Joel Swain. I wanted Jared Swain because I really want to be able to see how these drivers get around the track, and I want to see how our championship leader in D2 finds his way around the track. We'll have to jump across Riley Downey. Oh, here he comes. Jared Swain then. The man at the front of the Division 2 field. Let's see where he is able to place himself in today's race. Now, he heads through the bottom end of the circuit. Of course, this was the end of the lap last week. You can see just how much gravel there is already off of the circuit, but around the circuit. That is surely going to find its way onto the track as the races progress. As you can see already, the 724 Jared Swain already onto the gravel at the top of that chicane, which is to be expected. He is going to come up to the hairpin. We didn't run all the way up here last week. We cut it off, and that's cut off there. You can see all the emergency vehicles. But around the final turn comes Jared Swain. We are going to ride on board with Jared Swain for his lap of the Knockhill circuit. Up towards turn number 1. Downhill here, you can get quite a bit of two-wheeling action going if you clip that inside curb just a little bit wrong. None of the drivers doing that during practice, though, I saw, which is great. Now, up the hill, you've got to cut it just the right amount. You don't want to get a slow down or an off track, and you don't want to run wide here, but you do want to carry as much speed as possible. Swain carrying a good amount of speed there. As it looks like Mark Codd is the first man with a time on the board, but Stephen Hurd goes faster. Ralph Aero this week with a working D1 background to his name, which is really good to see. He gets our time on the board as well. Matt Malone currently slowest. Craig McBuller goes in. Joel Swain, fastest D2 driver right now. Where is Jared Swain going to go? Riley Downey goes third right now. Across the timing line goes Jared Swain, and it is not fast enough to go past Riley Downey, who is coming down and out of the first chicane, up the hill now, getting that two-wheeling action that I was talking about, bouncing the car quite a lot, still pushing hard, so certainly not invalidating his lap just yet, looking to go faster. Milan Vukovic only fast enough for third position right now, and that is quite rare that we won't see Vukovic, the fastest man of them all. That honour currently goes to Stephen Hurd. Hurd, a very quick driver indeed. Lasik Smith did his first race in the series last week. He found his way towards the front during qualifying. He's there once more. Can he beat Vukovic to a higher up qualifying position? Can he improve past Stephen Hurd? We watch Vukovic there. A little bit of gravel being kicked up as we head up towards the hairpin. As it looks like most drivers have got a lap time on the board. We're still waiting for Van der Herk, for Rosenville, McIntyre, Nagel, Lane and Neal. Lasik Smith does go purple right now. He's the fastest overall, just ahead of Hurd. Where will Vukovic go as he crosses the line? Vukovic goes second. Lasik Smith beats Vukovic to pole position here. Will it be beaten by Philip Van der Herk? No, Van der Herk without a valid lap. This is his third lap. Philip Van der Herk, Timothy Rosenville, Jürgen Nagel, all of them, no valid laps. Matt McNeil, no valid laps. Can Peter McIntyre put in a valid lap here? James Lasik Smith beats D1 champion Milan Vukovic to pole here, who will be starting heat race 2. It's not often that he starts heat race 2. Riley Downey, Jared Swain, championship rivals in the D2 class, will be starting in different heat races. Riley Downey will start heat race 2. Jared Swain will start heat race 1. And they've both got two D1 drivers between themselves and the chasing D2 field. It looks like Division 1 is going to have the most of the D2 drivers. They are going to have 4. That is a 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Heat Race 1 is going to have 4 Division 2 drivers. Heat Race 2 is going to have 3. That is good for Riley Downey. Jared Swain, though, will start from first in Division 2 in Heat Race 1. As we continue to watch Peter McIntyre put laps in, but that is everybody completed their laps. That will be qualifying over here, even with a minute still left on the board. The reason we've not skipped through is because Matt Neal technically has not finished his second lap. Philip van der Hoek, Timothy Rosenveld, Jürgen Nagel, Matt Neal, all without lap times on the board. Peter McIntyre invalidated first lap, but in his second lap placed his car on 3rd position in class. That will start him second in Heat Race 2 in class. Vukovic still out on track as well. He's looking to try and find time so that when we get into the races, he is able to pull away. Now, Lasik Smith and Hurd were only 0.04 of a second between each other in first and third. They'll both be starting Heat Race 1. Vukovic more safe in Heat Race 2 because he has 0.4 of a second behind him to Mark Codd, who will be starting second in Heat Race 2. Lasik Smith and Hurd, Heat Race 1, I meant to say. But yeah, no rain here today. It is going to be nice and dry today, as it looks like Timothy Rosenveld, without a valid lap time, has just bought the track to race today. So let's see if he can get some valid laps in. Also, we had a lot of disqualifications last week. That was an issue with the server setup. It should have been penalties. I was having a look, and I think we possibly could have that issue again here today. Very quickly, let's talk you through Heat Race 1 starting grid. It's Lasik Smith ahead of Hurd, McBuller and Swaim. Lane ahead of Henriquez. Then it's Edgar, Hagland, Bruyne, Rosenveld, and Jürgen Nagel will start in that field as well. So I believe that's 5 drivers in that one. As it looks like we're trying to get the field. There we are. It really confused me for a moment, actually. Why are they all facing this way? That's because this is the direction we should be facing. It's green. We are away for 10 minutes here in Heat Race number 1. James Lasik Smith pulls us away from the very front of the field. Stephen Hurd from second, and it looks like there could be some issues for Jared Swaim there. A little bit of blinking. If Swaim disconnects here, that will go hugely in Riley Downey's favour. It is Timothy Rosenveld side by side with Jürgen Nagel in the background. They settle themselves down though, and it looks like most drivers now settle themselves down. That was Anders Hagland onto the gravel ever so slightly in the background. Big 2 wheels, but the drivers now settling themselves down on the opening lap of this race. That is definitely some issues for Jared Swaim. There is some concern going on now as to whether he will finish this race or not because of the connection issues. Of course, like I said, if he does disconnect, it'll be a massive advantage to Riley Downey, who could take the win in Heat Race number 2. Jared Swaim will want to take the win here in Heat Race number 1. That was Timothy Rosenveld on the back of Thomas Bruyne. Well, no, Anders Hagland. Rosenveld up to 9th overall. He has a number of D2 drivers to get past, but that looks like Jared Swaim is officially out of the race. Off the track goes race D2 leader then, Richard Edgar. Anders Hagland moves into the D2 lead because Jared Swaim is out. I'm looking, Thomas Bruyne is on wet tyres. It looks like he has not changed his setup from last week. Anders Hagland lets Timothy Rosenfeld through. He knows they're in different divisions, and he allows the D1 drivers to be leading this race. The D2 drivers behind them now, separated nicely between the two of them, and actually that means we can give you class positions as well now instead of just overall positions, because they are separated. There we go. We can see how the two divisions line up in their class positions. That is, they are running in order as well. The D1s ahead of the D2s. It looks like someone has just gone off, and it's Lazarus Smith! That is him out! Look at the damage in James Lazarus Smith's car. What has happened over the chicane? We'll watch the start of that lap. Race leader James Lazarus Smith out of heat race 1. Pole to the, just holding the lead, and he will be out. It's over the curbing. Way too much curbing. A huge hit. I think that is one of the biggest hits I have seen in the Clio League. A massive accident. Stephen Hurd now leads the way, puts in a purple lap as well. 3 seconds clear of Clayton McBuller as well. So a big gap now for the man out in front, who should be able to take this easily there. Hagland gets past Timothy Rosenfeld, who finds the edge of the circuit, and he decides to give it a little bit of a friendly handshake. He drops down to 6th overall, but he does remain 5th in class. Again off the circuit, he brings Edgar with him. Here comes Jürgen Nagel. Remember, Hagland, Edgar and Nagel, all of them fighting for 3rd in the D2 Championship. So their positions really do matter here as we head up now towards the timing line. It is the only D1 driver that is behind a D2 driver is Timothy Rosenfeld, sits behind Anders Hagland. Lewis Henriquez chasing down Ian Lane, chasing down Clayton McBuller at the moment as we continue around about halfway through this race right now, as we will get the intervals up rather than the gaps as we head through the lap once more. Stephen Hurd leading Clayton McBuller by 3.5 seconds, but this is the fight for second right now. McBuller, Lane and Henriquez. Timothy Rosenfeld would love to be a part of this, but learning the track right now. It's been a little while since he's also been out in the Clios as well. So it's just getting back used to the machine. He is all over the rear of Anders Hagland. Will he be able to find a way through? Is Anders Hagland going to allow him through again? Of course, by doing that, he gives up a little bit of time. Could allow Richard Edgar close up. It certainly doesn't look like he's allowing him through this time, as Rosenfeld looked to try and find a way through. Couldn't do it there. As we get to the bottom of the hill, the double right-hander now. Huge amount of two-wheeling from Timothy Rosenfeld, and again hopefully we won't see a replica of the accident we saw before, but a huge cut to the inside there. Will that be a slowdown for Timothy Rosenfeld, do you think? It doesn't look like it is. Could possibly would have counted it as an off track. No, that definitely is a slowdown. Look at how much time he has dropped off of the back of Anders Hagland. That definitely has to be at least a little bit of a slowdown, as Ian Lane chasing down Lewis Henriquez. It looks like they've swapped over there in their fight for 3rd position as well. Let's have a look at how that happened. Down. It looks like that could have been an off-track, possibly a mistake from Ian Lane. This is Lewis Henriquez chasing down Ian Lane as they come up the chicane. Where is this going to happen? It looks like actually it wasn't a mistake. It looked like it was just pure pace as we watch almost an entire lap of a replay. Why does it send us so far back? But here he goes, and it looks like that was a slowdown for Ian Lane because he pulls over to the side, definitely gives that position up as James Lazarus Smith goes purple after repairing his car. But Ian Lane definitely had a slowdown there, allowing Luis Henriquez to move into third position. Fight for second in the D2 field. This is Richard Edgar. He's right behind Timothy Rosenfeld, but he does have Jürgen Nagel behind. Not only is this a fight for position, it's fight for championship position as well between these drivers, and Anders Hagland leading this race. Jared Swain, of course, out with a disconnect is going to really benefit Riley Downey in Heat Race 2. Only 18 points between them in the championship, and this disconnect is going to swing the results in Riley Downey's favour ahead of Osher Schleben next week in our final races of the season. Over the chicane they go, different racing lines, and that was definitely a wide line there from Richard Edgar. Nagel invited into this fight now for second in class. He's right behind Richard Edgar. Can he find a way through as we head up towards the hairpin? 2.5 minutes left on the clock. A lap is about 56 seconds there or thereabouts. So I think we should get 3 more laps in it with Stephen Hurd, our race leader, already on his 9th lap on this race as they come across the line. And they head on to their 9th lap. Will Jürgen Nagel be able to get up the inside of Richard Edgar up towards turn number 1? No, he doesn't. He is still looking to try and find a way past right now as they go down the hill and round past the massive gravel beds on the outside. You can just see how much gravel has already been pulled onto the circuit, fortunately off the racing line, and that is Nagel onto the gravel. Too adventurous up the hill and through the chicane, and he has dropped it now to about 7 to 8 tenths behind Richard Edgar. The fight up at the front as well as opened up between McBuller and Henriquez. Lane continuing to drop behind as well, but that man all the way out front is Stephen Hurd. He crosses the line to go on to the 10th lap of what is expected to be 11 here, as even though there looks like there is a car, well, there is a car between Hagland and Edgar. It is only about a second between Edgar and Hagland right now. So a mistake from Hagland could invite the 2 drivers behind him into the race for the D1 lead. Hagland, Edgar, Nagel, all of them fighting for third in the D2 championship. All of them fighting for, well, all of them wanting the win here. All of them sitting on the podium right now in the D2 field. Stephen Hurd leading this one overall at the moment. Nagel closes to about half a second behind Edgar as we head up towards the final lap of the race, as Jared Swain has just received a meatball flag. So I assume that he's rejoined the server and has promptly had an accident. Let's have a look at what's happened to Jared Swain here. No, he's not even in the server, so I don't know how he's received a meatball flag. When he is not even here. Right. White flag lap then, and it is Stephen Hurd leading the way right now. 5 seconds clear of Clayton McBuller. Now, Hurd is going to have a much harder fight in the next... Sorry, no, he's not, because his fight should have been Lazik Smith. He is going to have a harder fight in feature race 1, of course, because he is going to be against Vukovic, and with Lazik Smith down, he's not going to be at the front to really fight with them. But there's the checkered flag being waved. Stephen Hurd is going to win heat race number 1 here at round 11 of Knockhill. Who is going to take first in the D2 championship? It's going to be Anders Hagland, but there certainly was something going on between Nagel and Edgar as they crossed the line. What happened here between Edgar and Nagel? Edgar ahead of Nagel, makes a mistake at the chicane. This is the final lap of the race. Through goes Nagel. So Nagel was up to second, but it changed again as we got into the hairpin, as we head up towards the hairpin, onto the brakes. And that is a wide line from Jürgen Nagel, serving a slow down penalty through the final turn, re-gifting the position to Richard Edgar. Very quick race results then. I'm going to have to do this the quickest I ever have in my history of race results. It was Hurd ahead of Henriquez, ahead of McBullet and Lane. Haglund 1, D2 ahead of Rosenfeld, Edgar, Nagel, Bruin and Lazic Smith. And a lap down was Jared Swaim. On to the Heat Race 2 qualifying grid then. We have got Jukovic ahead of Cod, ahead of Downey, Cook, Aero and McIntyre. Then we have Swain, Malone, Van der Herk and Neil. Let's get a look at our drivers who are going to be down on the grid. I missed out Heat Race 2's start last week because I took too long on the results and the grid. I didn't take too long this week, and we are preparing ourselves to get going here for Heat Race 2. We are green, we are away. Vukovic from the lead. He was half a second quicker than Cod in the qualifying session as this race begins. Riley Downey tucks into third with Jared Swaim disconnecting in Heat Race 1. He just needs to take a good result here, and a win would definitely be a good result. Peter McIntyre, huge mistake for the man looking to move up in the championship in D2. He's down to the back of the field, down to fourth in class here. Joel Swain returning to the league after quite a few race weekends off. He's second in class right now behind Van der Herk and behind Malone. In fact, he is battling with Van der Herk up towards the hairpin. Can the D1 driver get it ahead of Joel Swaim into the final turn? He certainly can. Here comes Matt Neal to try and get involved as well on the exit. Joel Swaim goes wide, but he does get a good exit out of that one. Matt Neal in third in class, looking to try and take second of Joel Swaim. Couldn't quite take advantage of the fight between Van der Herk and Swaim there. But it is Matt Malone leading Van der Herk just up ahead at the front of the field. Vukovic has pulled a 1 second lead over Cod on the opening lap. Look how much gravel has already been thrown on the circuit. Matt Malone slow, very slow. Something has happened to Matt Malone there as through goes Joel Swaim. Let's see if we can figure out what has happened to Matt Malone as he loses positions to the D2 drivers. It is like a slowdown. It is a slowdown for Matt Malone as he continues to pass up positions here. This is Matt Neal trying to make the move past Matt Malone now as Neal's to the inside. Malone now with two D2 drivers to himself ahead, almost into Peter McIntyre there. He swings back to the right-hand side as that is a slowdown for Matt Neal. A lot more slowdowns this week than last week. That chicane being a much more deadlier beast than it was last week, where drivers could really jump off the circuit there. They can't quite jump off the circuit here, otherwise you are going to either end up in the wall like we saw for Lazic Smith in race 1, or you are going to end up with a slowdown, which we are seeing for most of the field at some point or other. Fight towards the back between Peter McIntyre, Matt Neal and Matt Malone. It is Peter McIntyre up the inside of Malone. It's going to slow him down on the exit though, and here comes Matt Neal to get the inside of the hairpin. They run side by side, they swap positions, but who is going to come out ahead? Matt Neal gets the position right now. Peter McIntyre looking to move back up the order. Can he do it on the exit? I'm keeping an eye on the battles and the positionings. Mark Cod is remaining quite within about 0.8 of a second to Milan Vukovic. There could be an opportunity for Cod there as McIntyre gets to the inside of Matt Neal, makes that position work for him. Matt Neal sliding ever so slightly behind. Hopefully no slowdowns for anyone as they come up the chicane this time. You can see drivers going more for making the turns than just trying to straight line that chicane. I think trying to straight line that chicane gives you a huge amount of speed, but unfortunately it also gives you that slow down penalty. Riley Downey is on the back of Mark Cod. Now Downey and Cod are in two separate divisions here. Downey does not need to invite himself into a fight and get involved here. It would just slow himself down, could risk him getting involved in some sort of incident that will put him behind other drivers. With Jared Swain going out of Heat Race 1 with a disconnect, Riley Downey can take full advantage here. But that being said, Mark Cod off the circuit ahead. Is Downey going to try and do something? That Cod slides! Cod, huge slide. Downey on the outside here. They're side by side. They don't need to be. Mark Cod backs out, lets Downey through, but a big mistake there from Cod. 2 mistakes, in fact, through 2 turns. Riley Downey moves into second overall. He has 4 D1 drivers between himself and the next D2 driver. Exactly what he needs for the championship fight in that D2 class. Milan Vukovic now is 3 seconds safe out front. So this looks like, with another fast lap of a 55.3, it looks like it is going to be another dominant win for Milan Vukovic. Philip van der Herk, it is a surprise to see him down in 5th in class, because he is quite a quick driver, and we've seen him move up the championship order over previous races with his results and his consistency. But today, just not showing that right now. There was a huge cut on the chicane though. Will that be a slowdown? It doesn't look like it is at the moment, as he continues to try and catch up to Ralph Aero here as they head up towards the final turn. 2 different lines there, going for the deeper run and the tighter exit as John Cook gets past Riley Downey. Riley Downey giving those positions up, not wanting to get into a fight between himself, Cod, and Cook, and he moves down. He has got a, what's this lead to the guys behind? About an 8-second lead to Peter McIntyre, who sits in second right now. Well, actually, that's a good point. Peter McIntyre sits in second. What happened to Joel Swaim? Because Joel Swaim was doing something. I'm trying to see here where Joel Swaim moves down. Here we go. It looks like something has possibly happened to Swaim, who was in second in class. He moves back into third in class. But what happened here to fall behind Peter McIntyre? Down towards... he goes off. Off at turn 1. Huge slowdown you're going to get by going off there. Tries to keep it tight and out of the way. Slight contact with Matt Malone. Nothing they could either do really about that on their 2 different racing lines. But a slowdown for Swaim sent him off the track and down that position. He does sit ahead of Matt Neal, so he is still on the podium right now. Philip van der Herk right behind Ralph Aero. I'm also seeing that Cook is behind Cod by about 4 tenths of a second, but Aero goes off the circuit. Is van der Herk going to be able to find time over that to try and do something right now? It doesn't look like it. This is Cook chasing down Cod up towards the hairpin. 2.5 minutes left to go. We're looking at about 3 more laps as Vukovic crosses the line this time around to go on to lap number 9. Across the line they go, second and third, 3 tenths between them at the moment. But here is a fight as Swaim looks up the inside of Peter McIntyre for second in class. Matt Neal gets involved. Matt Malone is somehow involved in all of this as well. He is not here for class positions. But here comes Matt Neal to the inside of Joel Swaim. Both of them going extremely wide up towards turn number 1. They get through without incident and they settle themselves down right now with Peter McIntyre second in class, Joel Swaim third in class, Matt Neal fourth in class, and Matt Malone in the middle of them right now. And off the track goes Joel Swaim. Here comes Matt Neal to the inside. Neal also looks to the inside of Matt Malone. They're side by side. Somehow there's no contact and they continue through. Matt Neal and Matt Malone side by side. This is allowing Peter McIntyre to pull away in second in class as Philip van der Herk and Ralph Aero swap positions for 5th and 6th. Matt Neal gets past there up towards turn number 1. Van der Herk to the inside of Aero. He's still looking for 5th position right now. Slightly different lines means that Aero is compromised on the exit. Van der Herk nowhere to go though to try and get through. Up the chicane. They have Riley Downey ahead. Is Downey going to become a factor in this battle or not? Van der Herk gets the gravel and it opens up the gap between Aero and himself. Joel Swaim looking to try and get past Matt Malone so that he can fight Matt Neal again, but Neal currently rounding out the D2 podium. This is back to the fight between Aero and Van der Herk as we head up towards white flag lap. In fact, Vukovic has already started his last lap of the race, 8 seconds clear of John Cook. Mark Codd sits in third, 0.8 of a second behind. This is 0.3 between Aero and Van der Herk up towards turn number 1. Can Van der Herk do anything on this final lap of the race? It looks like the D2 positions are fixed with Matt Malone between Matt Neal and Joel Swaim, but Van der Herk behind Aero here, 0.3 of a second. Codd behind Cook is about half a second right now. Nothing doing there. Anything happening between Aero and Van der Herk. Van der Herk has closed in. Both of them onto the gravel. Van der Herk much more so though, and will be losing time over Aero as we go through the final turn. That's Vukovic winning the race ahead. Cook will finish ahead of Codd. Downey will win D2 and Ralph Aero will hold on to Van der Herk as we come across the line and heat race 2 comes to a close. Let's have a look at our results then from the second heat race of the day. Milan Vukovic wins by 7.5 seconds over John Cook. Mark Codd took home third. Riley Downey wins D2 ahead of Ralph Aero and Philip Van der Herk in 5th and 6th overall. Peter McIntyre and Matt Neal round out the podium in D2. Matt Malone finishes in 9th ahead of Joel Swaim and 10th. Let's have a look then at how our feature race 1 is going to start here. It is going to be Stephen Hurd from pole position ahead of Vukovic. Henriquez behind ahead of Cook, McBuller and Codd, followed by Ian Lane. Riley Downey will lead the D2 drivers ahead of Hagland. Aero will follow behind, and then it will be Rosenveld and Van der Herk. We'll then see Edgar, McIntyre, Nagel and Neal, and then we've got Boone, Swaim, Lazik Smith, Matt Malone and Jared Swaim towards the back of the field, and hopefully we will see, and it does look like we've got Jared Swaim back in this one for the next one. So Jared Swaim back in at the back of the field here for feature race 1. 15 minutes on the clock. And we are green. We are away here at Knockhill for feature race 1 here at round 11. Drivers head up towards turn 1. Hurd leads Vukovic. Drivers behind going side by side down the hill, but it looks like we're going to keep it all clean on the first few corners. Battles towards the back end though, as well as a driver off the circuit there. That was Ralph Aero. Not enough to lose any positions though, but he certainly has Timothy Rosenveld all over his rear end. More gravel being kicked up, and it looks like we may have had a driver off and out at the beginning part here. Very possibly, it says that we do have 2 drivers down and out, including Peter McIntyre and Thomas Broyne here on the opening lap of the race. Both drivers on to the gravel, which is not the way that you wanted to start that one, but it is Stephen Hurd leading the way right now. Vukovic going for a wider line up towards turn 1 down the hill to see who can come out in front. Right now it is Hurd leading the way. Henriquez trying to get involved in this well, not letting the 2 drivers at the front pull away. James Lazik Smith looking to move up the order. Timothy Rosenveld looking to move up the order, but instead trying to take the rallycross circuit instead. So a mistake for him up towards turn number 1. Let's have another look at Timothy Rosenveld. Do turn 1, losing the rear end, down the hill, nowhere to control it, slides the car around and will have to recover down towards the back of the field as Philip Van der Herk moves past Ralph Aero, something he was trying to do in Heat Race 2, but he does it here in Feature Race 1. Onto the brakes, through the hairpin. That is also side by side between Lasik Smith and Anders Hagland as well. Lasik Smith obviously down and out after a crash from the lead in Heat Race 1. He's recovering to the field. He's currently 12th overall. That is going to be 10th in class for him, and he confirms that position over Anders Hagland as they head up towards turn number 1. Vukovic, Henriquez and Cook all quite close behind Stephen Hurd here, as they all are looking for a victory, and all of them looking to try and pull one over on Milan Vukovic, the man to beat this season. Joel Swain, huge hit for the man at the back of the field, and he hits into the wall. Looks like he's already got some damage to the front of his car. What happens as he comes through onto the brakes, and he goes straight on a lockup straight off the circuit? No further damage for him, but a big mistake and lock up there. Richard Edgar dropping behind Lasik Smith as he continues on his charge up the order there, as Matt Neal looks like, no, it's Jared Swaim again. It looks like we could have another disconnect possibly for Jared Swaim. I'm looking at the moment, and I think we may possibly, he keeps on jumping backwards and forwards, we may lose Jared Swaim from this race as well. He does keep on momentarily returning. We'll keep an eye on that at the moment. I know that Downey will be happy but also sad if Swaim disconnects again, because he will want that championship fight next week, and he will want to take it, not due to internet issues but due to actual racing, as that is a big hit as we jump towards Ralph Aero, who was off the circuit there fighting with Lasik Smith up towards the chicane. This is where Lasik Smith went off in Heat Race 1. Onto the gravel, a slide straight off the circuit. A big hit with the wall for Aero, broken suspension before he even hit the wall again. That's why he headed straight towards the tyre barriers in that second hit. You saw him try to turn right, and he just couldn't. Ralph Aero out of this race here then. Feature Race 1 as we go up the chicane. This continues to be the fight at the lead. 4 cars involved. Hurd, Vukovic, Henriquez and Cook. Cook behind Henriquez though. Is he going to fight for third, or is he going to just try and work with Henriquez to not lose the leading 2 drivers? Matt Neal, Anders Hagland swap around for position in third in class. Riley Downey continues to lead the class. Jared Swaim is still in this race right now, ahead of Joel Swain. Behind Matt Neal, behind Matt Malone at the moment, up towards the final hairpin. He sits 6th in class. It will still be points, and that is what's important for Jared Swaim. I believe he will still get points for P4. Was it P5 in Heat Race 1 that he disconnected from? I think he will still get the points even though he did not finish the race. But I'm not 100% certain on that. Anders Hagland here, 4th in class right now, looking to try and take the podium off of Matt Neal if possible. Looking also to take some podiums. John Cook looking to take 3rd off of Luis Henriquez. But this is the battle for the lead right now. It is Stephen Hurd leading Vukovic. Vukovic swings to the left-hand side. Different racing lines through the final turn. Looking for the exit from Milan Vukovic if he can do it. It's down to 2.5 seconds. 2.5 tenths of a second. Vukovic is closing up towards Hurd. Hurd goes defensive towards turn 1, forcing Vukovic to take the outside line. Tucks across, looking now for alternate racing lines. He looks to the inside. Stephen Hurd, though, just has enough of a lead there. Onto the gravel, as was Luis Henriquez behind, as they go up and over the chicane. Vukovic touches the gravel. Still about 2.5 tenths of a second here between the two of them. Hurd doing a good job to keep Vukovic behind right now, but the pressure is on, that's for sure. James Lasik Smith, 9th in class, only needs to get past Riley Downey, and then he has a field of D1 drivers ahead of him. He'll still be looking to recover that. Of course, we will have a full reversed grid for feature race 2. So if you finish last in this one, you are going to be starting from first, but not as many points on offer for race result in that feature race 2, more for bonus points. Right, in towards turn number 1, Vukovic behind Stephen Hurd as they go down the hill. Okay, looks like it's still about 3/10 of a second. Both of them onto the gravel this time. A little bit of two-wheeling there from Vukovic, and then both of them at the top of the hill. Look how close Vukovic is behind. Now he is going to look to the inside. Hurd broke a little bit earlier. They're still side by side. A little bit of gravel, but nothing to slow Hurd down. He got the nicer line, though. That tight line. Great to be up the inside, but you're going to have to be slow on the exit if the driver you're overtaking keeps his position. And that's certainly what happened there. And Hurd holds on to the lead. A great bit of defending there. This little fight, though, is allowing Henriquez and Cook to get back into it. Looking behind, there is the fight for 5th as well. That's McBuller, Cod Lane and Vanderhert. Downey's not too far off of that either, but he won't get involved, and that's a wobble from Vanderhert, sorry, from Vukovic, as he dives at the inside of Stephen Hurd and takes the lead. Hurd looking to switch back, taps on the brakes. He can't get up the inside in time. Didn't want any contact. Thomas Boone out of this race. Onto the gravel goes Henriquez. He goes back up to the leading fight. Not able to be involved in it, though, as he touches that gravel, slows himself down again. Can Hurd now make his way back past Vukovic? He has got the speed. He's to the left-hand side now. Vukovic on the tighter line, as that's Cook looking for Henriquez behind. Vukovic getting a nice run through the turn, but Hurd certainly has the speed. Vukovic goes defensive up towards turn 1, but they are going to be side by side up towards turn 1. Hurd brakes earlier, looks for the exit over, trying to run side by side through there. Joel Swain has been black flagged, will have to visit pit lane for a penalty. Up the chicane now. Once again, this fight has invited Henriquez and Cook back into it, but the gap now between Vukovic and Hurd about half a second. That is great news for Vukovic, not so much for Hurd. He's led over half of this race as we head up now towards the hairpin to go on to the 11th lap. I'm looking at the time, we'll probably have about 7 more laps in it. Out of the final turn, a little bit of gravel being kicked up there from Vukovic. 0.4 of a second back to Stephen Hurd right now as we head up towards turn number 1. Out of this race is Aero, Brune and McIntyre. Timothy Rosenfeld at the back of the field, still in the race right now, looking at other battles going on. In fact, this battle for the lead has almost invited McBuller and his train of drivers, Cod, Lane and Vanderherk, into it as well. Lazark Smith did make his way past Riley Downey, but here comes Vanderherk to the inside of Ian Lane. Lane breaks earlier, looking for the exit here to try and make his way back past Vanderherk. Lights flashing from James Lazark Smith behind. Ian Lane tucks behind once more to Vanderherk, looks to the inside. It's a bit too far to make a dive from there, so he is going to have to hold on to 8th in class for now. Luis Henriquez only about half a second off of Hurd. Hurd half a second off of Vukovic. It's about a second down to Cook, and then 2 seconds to McBuller as they the leading 4 just slightly pull away once more. Lights flashing once again from James Lazark Smith along the start-finish line. He is on a hard charge here. He's still got about 6 more laps to try and get any position he can, and right now I'd say he's got definitely 2 positions in his sights, and he could make his way up to 7th position, if not 5th, if he is really on it. Jared Swain gets past Jürgen Nagel. Swain now up into 5th in class. Jürgen Nagel down to 6th. Not what Nagel needs, because he's got Edgar and Hagland both on the podium here, 2nd and 3rd. Downey is 3 seconds safe in the lead of this feature race right now. Exactly what he needs for the championship fight in D2. This could make it an extremely tight fight next week in our final round at Oschersleben. Joel Swaim has visited pit lane. He has cleared his black flag. He is now a lap down. Ralph Aero actually is still racing, it looks like, in this one, I believe, as that's another instant moment there for Jared Swaim. Hopefully it doesn't last again like it did in heat race number 1, and that he will be back. But fights towards the front and midfield of the D1 field continue on at the moment. This is Cod behind McBullough as we head up towards the final turn, and this is James Lazick Smith trying to find his way past Ian Lane. He's been flashing his headlights at Lane the last few laps. Will he still be doing it here as we come up towards the line? It doesn't look like he's flashing his headlights this time around. You can see some front end damage on the number 5 machine as that was out of pit lane. It looked like Joel Swaim coming out of pit lane just there. Very possibly as I continue to look at Jared Swaim falling and gaining up the order. That is because of his internet issues. Hopefully we will see a true position for him in a moment's time, and that he is not out of this race for a second time today. Around the outside goes James Lazick Smith, and that looked like a slowdown for Ian Lane. In fact, it doesn't say that he went off track there, so did he just allow Lazick Smith through, or was it a slowdown? Vukovic has pulled about a second lead over Hurd now, as this is a fight. Mark Cod up the inside of Clayton McBullough. There's contact, and Philip van der Herk is going to take full advantage of that. Gets past McBullough. Will he be able to get past Cod as well? No, but he tucks in behind Cod ahead of McBullough. McBullough, a huge disadvantage in that contact there. And here comes Lazick Smith, wanting to be invited. Like I said, he could find his way up to top 5. There's 3 more laps, including this one, as we head on through the chicane once more. It is Cook leading. Now, who is it? It's Cod leading Van der Herk. Cod's just a pure red livery this week. It's confused me. Stop changing your liveries near the end of the season, as Lazick Smith looks to get past McBullough here up towards the hairpin. Lazick Smith on the outside here, as that is Cod straight on at the hairpin. Through goes Van der Herk, McBullough and Lazick Smith. What just happened to Mark Cod as we head up towards the hairpin? It looked like a lock-up that sent him straight on. It was. It looked like he was trying possibly to serve a slowdown, locked up, got on the grass, and served a lot more than the slowdown was asking him for. He is now down to 9th in class, 10th overall. This is Cook. He is half a second behind Henriquez now, as Lazick Smith gets past Clayton McBullough for 6th position. Let's see how that happened. It looks like on the exit chicane, a lot of grass there for McBullough, and just different racing lines. Lazick Smith gets to the inside and makes that move through, and he will hold 6th now, but he has 2 seconds up to Philip van der Herk as we go on to the white flag. But Lazick Smith has recovered to 6th in this race, which is a fantastic recovery. Bearing in mind it's only a 15-minute race. Rosenveld, Matt Malone, they swap position. Jared Swaim looks like he is out of feature race 1. Another disconnect for him after disconnecting in heat race 1, which is a real shame for him. Great news for Riley Downey and for his championship battle, as it looks like Matt Malone may have been involved in some sort of incident here. He is with Timothy Rosenveld up towards the final hairpin, and a mistake on the brakes, and he is just going to go straight on, and he has to give that position almost to a dead stop there, as Milan Vukovic crosses the line and will win feature race 1. It is going to be Ian Lane ahead of Lazick Smith. Lazick Smith has got a slowdown penalty, or is he out of fuel? I think he's out of fuel. It's possibly a slowdown, but I think Oh no, the way that he's weaving, surely that is a slow down penalty for Lazarus Smith across the line. As he picks up speed again after the line, yeah. A slow down penalty, was it? It looks like it. Very possibly. Let's have a little look then at the results from feature race 1 here around Knockhill for the second time of asking in 2 weeks. It was Milan Vukovic once again winning and has won every Knockhill event he has currently taken part in this season. Stephen Hurd takes second in his home race, almost won it, but just couldn't quite defend from Vukovic for long enough. Luis Enriquez took home third in the end ahead of John Cook. Philip van der Herk took fifth with McBuller in sixth and Ian Lane seventh. Riley Downey wins Division 2 with Jared Swaim out once again. Mark Codd took home 9th and James Isaac-Smith took home 10th overall. Finishing the podium in D2 was Richard Edgar and Anders Hagland. Matt Neal followed behind ahead of Jürgen Nagel, and then it was Timothy Rosenfeld ahead of Matt Malone. Jared Swaim took home 17th overall ahead of Ralph Aero, Joel Swaim and Thomas Boone, and all four of those drivers out of the race. Once again, Jared Swaim disconnecting. A real shame for him. Hopefully, he'll try once more in feature race 2 to try and take a race finish here. That being said, we have got 1.5 minutes left of warm-up. So before we get ready for feature race 2 and the last race of the day here, be sure to grab yourself your final refreshment, your final bit of popcorn, because we have 20 minutes of a full reverse grid race coming your way here from Scotland at Knockhill. Warm up then. Just 1 more minute on the clock. We will get our grid set in just a moment's time. I am going to quickly go and grab my own drink whilst you refresh yours. We'll be back in a moment's time. We prepare for feature race 2, the final race of the day. It will be a full reverse grid, placing our race winner Milan Vukovic to the back of the field. We have only got one more race weekend left after this one here for season 2 of the Renault Clio League. That would be at Oschersleben next week on October 28th. Be sure to hit that follow button here on Beehive Bill, because you will not want to miss that one. If you have missed any of the previous races up to this, though, be sure to go across to our YouTube channel and you can watch all of the previous races, either the full broadcast or the extended highlight videos. To check out all of the standings and information about this league, then be sure to head over to beehivebillbroadcasting.com/Renault Clio. We are preparing ourselves then for the final race of the day, and let's see how the grid is going to line up for this one. It is going to be Peter McIntyre leading the way from the start of this grid ahead of Thomas Broyne, then be Joel Swaim and Ralph Aero. Jared Swaim will start this one from 5th ahead of Matt Malone. We'll then see Timothy Rosenfeld in 7th ahead of Jürgen Nagel. We then got Matt Neal ahead of Anders Hagland and Richard Edgar. James Isaac-Smith will start from 12th. 13th will be Mark Codd ahead of Riley Downey. Ian Lane will start this one on 15th ahead of Clayton McBuller and Philip van der Herk. John Cook will start from 18th. Luis Enriquez from 19th. Stephen Hurd from 20th. And from the back of the field, our feature race 1 winner, Milan Vukovic, will be starting from there. We prepare to start our race then. 22 laps expected in this 20-minute race. Not as many points on offer for finishing position, but there are lots of bonus points on offer, including drivers who gain the most amount of laps
most amount of positions in the race. Also clean race bonuses. So drivers that are visiting the gravel will want to slow down just a little bit if they want to get all of the bonuses on offer. Peter McIntyre then will be starting this one from pole if he appears. Thomas Boone just ahead of him, but neither of them on the track at the moment. Joel Swaim is the first car on track. He starts third on the left-hand side, and it's Ralph Aero fourth on the right-hand side. But it looks like that's possibly actually going to be where our pole is starting from, third. It looks like we might not have McIntyre or Broyne in this race. 20 minutes on the clock. This is going to be interesting to see, and it is going to be third position Joel Swaim who takes the pole here from that third place spot. It is 20 minutes on the clock, and then the lights are going to go out. We are green here for the final race of the day. Joel Swaim will be the leading driver off of the line. Driver from pit lane there. It looks like, yes it is. That's Peter McIntyre. He's starting from pit lane, as that's already Jared Swaim moving into second position in this race right now. That's exactly what he needs. With it's going to be Riley Downey down in 16th class. Contact with Ralph Aero though. Ralph Aero pushing hard. Can't do anything right at the moment. Timothy Rosenfeld looks up the inside of Matt Malone. A lot of gravel in the back. And there's contact between Rosenfeld and Malone. More contact. And that is the front bumper damage from Rosenfeld, but they settle themselves down. Through goes Jürgen Nagel. Here comes Matt Neal as well. And as Rosenfeld up the inside is going to be able to hold any of those positions. He's got Anders Haglund just behind as they come through the final hairpin. Jared Swaim and Joel Swaim, have swapped positions at the very front of this one. So Jared Swaim leads lap number 1 here in Division 2, and overall contact, Lazarus Smith and Matt Neal. Lazarus Smith moves to 4th in class, looks up the inside of Timothy Rosenfeld for 3rd. He is on the hunt for a win here. This reverse grid is a great opportunity for him, but that is flashing lights from D2 4th place sitter Matt Neal, who's not happy with the way that Lazarus Smith bumped him out the way to take that position. Lazarus Smith is still pushing hard on the rear end of Rosenfeld. Lights flashing from so many cars out there. Who is going to try and take the position? It is going to be Lazarus Smith. Dives at the inside of Timothy Rosenfeld through the final turn, gets that position and moves into a podium in D1. Vukovic moved to 9th in class right now, 15th overall. Luis Henriquez is out of this race after the start of this one. Stephen Hurd, fastest man on track right now. Black flag for Mark Codd. He is 5th in class, 10th overall. Will need to visit pit lane as Matt Malone jumps up the inside of Joel Swaim, who's already lost position to Ralph Aero. That's Jürgen Nagel now under attack from James Lazarus Smith. Lazarus Smith flashing his lights, gets up the inside. That invites Timothy Rosenfeld in as well. There's contact sideways from Rosenfeld. More contact. A huge hit with the wall. He comes back on, is avoided as he toes. But that was a big amount of contact. It was just a small tap with Nagel and then collected from Neal behind. No one's fault there. Racing incident for sure. But that is Timothy Rosenfeld out of this one. Anders Haglund is not, because he is fighting for 3rd to try and get past Jürgen Nagel here if he has the opportunity. Right now he doesn't. Lazarus Smith though on the rear end of Matt Malone, who's on the rear end of Ralph Aero. Jared Swaim 2 seconds clear at the front of this field in D2 and overall. Exactly what Swaim needs after the disconnects in the opening 2 races. As that is lights flashing from James Lazarus Smith. He wants to get past Matt Malone. He wants to get up into 2nd position. Vukovic not able to move through the order as easily as he did last week in the rain. Of course, he went from last to 1st, and he pulled out an astonishing 18-second lead as well. But in the dry, it's not quite as easy for him to wake his way through. As we head up towards the line once more to go on to lap number 5. A little bit of a touch there, I think, from Malone and Lazarus Smith as Malone wobbled just slightly up towards turn number 1. They get through cleanly, pushing it all the way onto the curbing. Lazarus Smith to the inside. That was a lock up from Aero. Gravel being kicked up from Malone. And through the chicane they go, but that is going to be contact! As Malone gets the gravel, Lazarus Smith had nowhere to go. Malone skidding across in front of him, goes around in front of Lazarus Smith. Just a minute bit of contact, and it sends Malone down the order. Malone now got Downey and Hagland behind. Downey to the inside of Anders Hagland. This will be for third in class. Riley Downey needs this for the championship fight. Jared Swain leading this race, of course. Matt Malone involved in this one, just pulling Hagland ahead. But who is going to take the better line through turn one? As Downey's got the inside of Hagland. There's contact! Hagland off! Downey saved! He remains on track and will be third now in class, with Hagland no front bumper on his machine. But we've seen Riley Downey racing with quite major damage to the front end before without any significant impact. Lazarus Smith has made a move for the lead of the D1 field here. What has happened as Vukovic takes fourth in D1. What's happened here in D1? Through the chicane, a really good amount of speed from Lazarus Smith. Looks to the outside of Ralph Aero and just hangs it around the outside. I have not seen a better move all weekend over that one. That has got to be the best move of the weekend for sure, as Lazarus Smith now leads the D1 field. Vukovic up to fourth in D1. Got Matt Malone and Riley Downey fighting ahead. Riley Downey is going to be offline here. This is not what he needs, as he wants to try and catch up to Joel Swain to get into second. Rival Jared Swain leading the way, but that is Stephen Hurd up the inside as well. Riley Downey now getting quite a few D1 drivers between himself and Joel Swain for second in class, as we head on to the brakes up at the hairpin. A mix of drivers across course. Riley Downey backing out of that one, going slightly wider. And now trying to push Clayton McBuller. He doesn't want to be involved in a fight with the D1 drivers, but he does want to find the time to catch up to Joel Swain. Swain falling down the order at the beginning of this one. Of course, started from third, but it turned into a pole position spot for him on the grid. He has returned to fourth in this race right now, with issues for drivers around him, in particular those ahead of him. This is Milan Vukovic. He is behind Matt Malone. And he's onto the gravel goes Vukovic. He hasn't been able to move up the order as quickly as he did last week in feature race 2 in the wet, but he looks up the inside to try and take the podium in D1 from Matt Malone. He does it. Matt Malone going for the wider run though. Is he going to go for the exit here? Can he get the speed? He's right on the rear of Vukovic. He's closing, but he's not moving to try and take that position. He might be trying to just follow Vukovic forwards here and get closer to Aero and Lazarus Smith. Lazarus Smith has 2.5 seconds over Ralph Aero now and could look for the win. James Lazarus Smith has been incredibly fast, but has not made it to the front of the field to win yet. He was leading heat race number 1 from pole position before throwing it into the wall without anyone around him. Just getting that chicane a little bit wrong. Through the hairpin though, he is 3 tenths behind. He's leading D1, but he wants to take the overall win as well, that's for sure. This is the fight for 5th right now. Vukovic ahead of Malone, ahead of Hurd, ahead of McBuller. Vukovic looking to get past Joel Swain though as we go up towards turn number 1. Swain moves towards the pit exit, allows Vukovic through, and Lazarus Smith gets past Jared Swain for the overall lead of the race as well. Jared Swain has about 6 seconds over Riley Downey right now. The gap is looking comfortable between the two championship rivals. Joel Swain between them, as well as a number of D1 drivers at the moment. Matt Malone slides a little bit, moves to the right, is slowing down. Has he got a slowdown penalty perhaps? It certainly looks like it, because he has just had to give up the position to Hurd and to McBullough, and here comes Riley Downey possibly to get involved as well. Now, we've not seen Downey fight the D1 drivers before. He normally just sits with them, knowing that he is not fighting them. Positions with those drivers do not matter. Right now, he is 3rd in class. That is what matters. McBullough going for the move past Hurd. Hurd off the circuit. That'll be a slowdown for sure. Through goes McBullough. Matt Malone to the inside. McBullough onto the gravel. Hurd on the outside. Malone on the inside. Makes it through. McBullough leads. Malone leads. Hurd onto the gravel once more. Riley Downey swings to the inside to try and get that position. He doesn't want to give up any time that he doesn't have to give up. Gravel being kicked up by McBullough, but through goes Riley Downey past Stephen Hurd, who falls to 6th in class. Downey, of course, not up any class positions, but did not want to slow down for the fight, as that was Vanderhoek going past Ian Lane. Matt Neal has crashed out of this one. Mark Codd out of this one as well. What's happened to Matt Neal? Through the chicane perhaps, or on the exit? No, it's a nice run through there. What has happened to Matt Neal? The smoke ahead. He goes wide. Oh, that is an interesting one. Not sure what happened to Neal there, but he is down and out of this one, as Vukovic now looks to try and get past Ralph Aero for 2nd in class, as we are just over halfway through this race. Up towards the hairpin. It is extremely close between these two drivers. Half a second right now. Aero will be trying to go defensive, keeping Vukovic behind. 3 seconds behind Jared Swain right now. Lazarus Smith has pulled a 1.5 second lead. I don't think, even if Vukovic can get past Aero and Swain, that he would be able to catch up Lazarus Smith without some sort of mistake from Lazarus Smith. Vukovic, though, is going to go up the inside of Ralph Aero. There's contact, both of them onto the gravel. Vukovic moves through, though. Ralph Aero flashing his lights. He is not happy with that move, understandably. Contact between the two. Let's have another look at that one as we come through. Oh, whose fault was that? Because both drivers, Vukovic was very firmly planted up the inside in that fight. Very firmly. And it was just I think that's a racing incident. They've just been caught onto each other in that contact. I'm going to call that one a racing incident from my viewpoint here, as Riley Downey gets past Joel Swain up towards turn 1. Can he hold that position? Yes, he does. Riley Downey moves into 2nd in class. This is brilliant for his championship fight. This is brilliant for our championship fight in the D2 field. Going into Oschersleben at the final round next week. Neal, Codd, Henriquez all out of this race. Rosenfeld still in this race, just a lap down. Off the track was Ralph Aero. Aero off the circuit. Comes back on. Loses the position to McBullough. McBullough now into the podium places. Here comes Matt Malone. Up the inside of Aero. Into the hairpin. They're side by side. Through goes Matt Malone. Stephen Hurd and Ralph Aero side by side now. And Aero, after being forced off the track, runs off the track in his own accord and is now in a gaggle of cars for the first time this race. Up towards turn number 1. He's got Stephen Hurd up his inside. A little bit of contact between the two of them as they go through turn number 1. Aero is going to be pushing hard. Is he going to look up the inside of Stephen Hurd? Yes, he is. And he returns. Back up to 5th. And Hurd goes around in the background. Into the wall. Heavy hit. That's John Cook off as well. How did that happen? How did that happen? Up towards turn number 3.
Was there contact? Was it just a slide? Contact behind with Van der Herk. And more contact with Ian Lane. Cook just trying to avoid. But the Joel Swaim is leading the battle of drivers here. Well, he's in the middle of a battle of drivers here, which is being led actually by Clayton McBullough, up in third in class right now. Matt Malone could try and take the podium here. Joel Swaim still on the D2 podium. Stephen Hurd has received a meatball flag with his contact and has towed to the pits. Stephen Hurd out of this race now. As we continue to have a look at this fight here, Vukovic is closing towards Jared Swaim. It's 3 seconds between them at the moment, but it's 6 seconds to Lazarus Smith. That is a massive gap that I think could possibly be impossible to pull off, as it looks like Ralph Aero may have had a disconnect, which is a shame. A few disconnects going on around here, very perhaps. But there is some disconnects there. Matt Malone gets past Joel Swaim for overall 6th position. Now he can go and attack Clayton McBullough for the podium position, as Ralph Aero has towed to pits. He is also out of this race, as that's now 5 cars out. Timothy Rosenfeld still in the race, but is obviously a while down, which is why he's still displaying behind Aero at the moment. Lazarus Smith leading the way ahead of Swaim and Vukovic. Downey in 4th overall, followed by McBullough. The checkerboard at the front of the field as Matt Malone goes onto the grass, onto the gravel, returns, keeps the speed over Joel Swaim. Will Joel Swaim push to try and get back in it? It doesn't look like he will. A swap between Cook and Nagel again for an overall position, not a class position. Ian Lane is behind Philip Van der Herk by about 7/10 of a second. That's the fight for 5th in class right now in the D1 field. As we reach on to just under 4 minutes to go, we'll have 5 laps remaining in this one, and it is Lazarus Smith still out front, recovering from what I believe was 13th on the grid with this reversed result after going out in Heat Race 1 from the pole and the lead. As we continue to watch Ian Lane, he's about half a second behind Philip Van der Herk, as that looks like Jared Swaim might have disconnected again. No, he's back. He is back. 3 minutes to go. Swaim has disconnected from his heat race and from his from feature race 1. If Jared Swaim disconnects from feature race 2, surely that would cement Riley Downey as championship leader into Oschersleben next week. But right now, Swaim does hold that lead, and we have all got our fingers crossed that he continues to hold that race lead, so that the fight next week becomes more natural and isn't all the result of disconnects from Swaim, who is proving he is fast here. Philip Van der Herk at the moment chasing down Matt Malone. This is the fight for 4th and 5th position in D1. It's 6th and 7th overall right now, as we've had 5 cars out of the race. Timothy Rosenfeld still in the race, but a lap down. So you could argue that he is also out of the race, which leaves us with 7 D1 drivers and 7 D2 drivers still really competing in this one. Philip Van der Herk looks to the inside of Matt Malone. Can't make that position as Lazarus Smith goes purple once more. 55.152. That's 2/10 quicker than Vukovic's fastest lap in feature race 1. So that is just showing how fast Lazarus Smith is around here. What could have been if he didn't go into the wall in heat race 1. We continue to watch Van der Herk chasing down Malone here. 2/10 of a second between them. Nagel and Hagland, they're battling for 4th and 5th in class as well. So both 4th and 5th in D1 and D2 currently in a fight. Malone gets the gravel though. That is going to invite an opportunity for Van der Herk up the inside. Philip Van der Herk moves to 4th, but he's then on the gravel. Matt Malone behind. As they nudge each other, Matt Malone sticks behind it. Is he going to go for the inside up towards the hairpin? He looks to the outside. He brakes a bit earlier, and he doesn't go to return that move.
Is he looking for another position out there? Perhaps. As Vukovic has made his way past Jared Swaim for second overall. It is not another position in class, though, for Vukovic. But he has 7 seconds to Lasik Smith. That gap has been opening. So Vukovic will not be able to win this one. Next lap will be white flag lap. If Lasik Smith holds on without a mistake, he can win his first race in the Clio League after being so close to it so many times before mistakes. As that was Nagel going off circuit ever so slightly, kicking up the gravel there. You've got Hagland ahead. He's 4th in class. Edgar behind. He's 6th in class. Hagland, Nagel, Edgar. They're all fighting for 3rd in the championship as Ian Lane gets past Joel Swain. We go on to the white flag lap. James Lasik Smith leads, and that's Richard Edgar around at the hairpin. Just a small mistake for him. It sends him around. Contact on the back end of Jürgen Nagel, and Richard Edgar goes around there in that fight. Nagel, though, still on the rear end of Hagland, will be wanting to do something with it if he can. But finally, for this man here, James Lasik Smith, he comes through the hairpin, and he will win feature race 2. Recovering from outside the top 10 in the reverse grid. He's moved through the field and he will win. Vukovic does not win all the Knockhill races of season 2, but he will cross the line in second, and Jared Swaim wins Division 2. Riley Downey will take second in Division 2, and Nagel just loses the gap ahead of him, and Anders Hagland will take 4th in that second division as the drivers all come across the line to finish the race. As here comes Timothy Rosenfeld, the last man to cross the line. He'll finish a lap down, but he will finish in 8th in class. All the races have come to a close here at Knockhill for round number 11. Let's have a look at our final race results of the day. And a win finally for James Lasik Smith, 7 seconds clear of Milan Vukovic. Clayton McBuller took the final podium in class. Jared Swaim, Riley Downey and Joel Swaim were your podium in D2. We then had Van der Herk in 6th overall, followed by Matt Malone, Ian Lane and Jean Cook. In 11th overall was Hagland ahead of Nagel, McIntyre and Edgar. Rosenfeld finished a lap down, and out of the race was Aero, Hurd, Neil, Codd and Henriquez. And that is round 11 done. That is 44 races completed of this season. We have 4 more races to go as we head to Oschersleben and round 12 next week. I hope you join us there, because it is going to be an absolutely fantastic one on October 25th. Be sure to hit the follow button here on Beehive Bill and check out the YouTube channel as well so that you don't miss anything. Until next time then, I hope you have a fantastic week and you join us at Oschersleben for the season finale of the iRacing Renault Clio League Season 2. Until then, from me here at Beehive Bill Broadcasting, it's goodbye.
Saturday night, the lights come alive, engines roar tonight. We drive from Laguna Seca to Oschersleben's course. Clio warriors lining up with full force. Heat races split, standing starts ignite. 2 laps in quali, chase that pole tonight. Bonus points waiting if you keep it clean. In the Renault Clio League, we're chasing the dream. Car Clio League Season 2.